Okay, so you've definitely seen this symbol before, right? The Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. It's this super ancient, powerful image of eternity and cycles. But what if it's not just some cool myth? What if it's actually like a literal blueprint for how reality itself is put together? That is the wild idea we're jumping into today. So, the Ouroboros theory basically says this symbol is a schematic for, well, everything. All the big, complex systems you can think of, the economy, ecosystems, maybe even our own consciousness. Every single end is just a new beginning. Every output just loops right back around and becomes the next input. It's a system that literally fuels itself to keep on going. And yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, look around. The world seems like total chaos, just trillions of separate things all flying in different directions. So what's the force that stops it all from just disintegrating into cosmic dust? How do you get unity out of all that mess? Well, according to this theory, the answer is this fundamental force called the pillar of unity. You can think of it as the universe's cosmic glue. It's not just sitting there. It's this active, powerful force that is constantly binding everything together, making sure that no matter how chaotic things look on the surface, the whole system stays, well, whole. So, to really get our heads around this cosmic glue, we have to start with a massive idea, a real mind bender. What if all the separation we see everywhere isn't real? What if it's just an illusion? The whole pillar of unity idea rests on this philosophical foundation called substance monism. And it's actually a pretty simple but totally profound idea. It says that everything in existence, you, me, this screen, the most distant star, isn't made of different kinds of stuff. Nope, it's all just different expressions of one single fundamental substance. So if that's true, then unity isn't something we have to create. It's the default state of everything. The philosopher Spinoza had this really beautiful way of putting it. He saw everything, rocks, light, our thoughts, our feelings, as just different modes, or you could say different waves, in the same giant cosmic ocean. He called that ocean God or nature. So yeah, a wave and a whirlpool might look different, but at the end of the day, they're all just water. And this right here really shows you the shift in thinking. We're so used to seeing the world as a series of interactions, one separate billiard ball smacking into another. But monism says no, it's all intra-action. Since everything is already connected, any event is more like a ripple moving through one single body of water. Nothing is ever truly separate to begin with. But here's the thing. This unity isn't some passive, peaceful state. It's actually a really active, dynamic tension. The theory says that this pillar of unity is held in place by two opposing, but also totally complementary, forces that are always working together. So the first force is holism. This is the top-down pressure. You can think of it as nature's constant instinct to build. The philosopher Jan Smuts talked about how the universe is always creating bigger and more complex wholes. Atoms get together to form cells, cells form organisms, organisms form societies. It's this relentless push toward greater and more integrated unity. And pushing back from the other direction, you've got the bottom-up force, which is called unified autonomy. This idea, which was inspired by the philosopher Leibniz, says that every single tiny part of the system is like a miniature mirror reflecting the entire thing. It's kind of like how one single cell in your body has the complete DNA blueprint for all of you. Every little piece has the pattern of the whole thing baked right into it. And these two forces working together can create really different kinds of unity. This is so important. Unity isn't just one flavor. You can have voluntary internal unity, right? Think of a jazz band just improvising together, all connected by the shared creative goal. Or you can have direct external unity, which is more like the walls of a prison, where unity is forced on the group from the outside. And the overall health of any system really depends on which kind of unity is calling the shots. Okay, now this next part might sound a little backward at first, but the theory argues that unity isn't a peaceful, quiet state. In fact, it gets stronger and more complex because of conflict and contradiction. And the engine that powers this growth is a process called the Hegelian dialectic. It's a simple three-step dance. First, you have the thesis. That's just the way things are right now. But that state always inevitably gives rise to its opposite, the antithesis. And it's the clash between those two that resolves into something new, a synthesis, a higher, more complex state that actually combines the truths of both sides. And the result of that clash has a special name: unified resolution. Now, this isn't a compromise where everybody gives something up. It's way cooler than that. It's integration. The conflict itself disappears, but the core truths from both the thesis and the antithesis are kept and lifted up into something brand new and more sophisticated than before. So this brings us full circle, right back to our snake. The Ouroboros isn't just eating its tail for no reason. It's literally consuming its own internal conflicts, its own contradictions, and it uses the energy from that friction to grow bigger and more complex. Conflict becomes the fuel for growth. So where is all this heading? This endless cycle of unity and separation, and then growth through conflict, it's all building toward an ultimate conclusion. The theory calls this the final radiant chop, and it happens in two pretty mind-blowing stages. The theory lays out this final climb in consciousness. The first major step is what it calls level 8, transcendent insight. This is that moment where you finally stop seeing all the individual parts and you suddenly perceive the entire system as one single living, breathing organism. But believe it or not, even that's not the end of the road. Level 9 is the singularity. This is it, the absolute peak. This is the point where all the distinctions we live by, past and future, me and you, cause and effect, it all just collapses into one fundamental, undeniable truth. It's like finally seeing the system's source code. And that singular moment is called the radiant chomp. It's that instant the Ouroboros finally closes its mouth on its tail, achieving total, perfect unity. But, and here's the paradox, in that exact moment of completion, it realizes that to keep existing, it has to start all over again. The singularity explodes, creating a brand new universe of separation and difference, and the whole amazing cycle begins once more. Which kind of leaves us with this one final huge question to chew on. If the snake always has to bite its own tail to start the cycle over, is it possible that the entire story of the universe is just about shattering itself into a billion pieces for the sheer joy of finding its way back home to being one again? What do you think?